Trending. Ladies and gentlemen, quick action, all the news, 10 minutes, let's go. Jon Jones is back. How happy do you feel about this, Joe? He is considered the GOAT. He made light work of our man, Garn. I was almost disappointed with how easy he did it.
I was disappointed with how easy he did it. I wanted to see Garn put up more of a fight. I was also excited at the spectacle of Jon Jones winning, coming back after 3 years off, heavyweight, all that.
So easy.
But I'm torn because he's such a fuckwit.
Yes.
And it's such a shame that he's... And I just watched a little video on YouTube yesterday. Patrick Gavia, I don't know if you've watched any of his stuff. He did videos, The Tragic Rise of Jon Jones.
Right.
And it just details... basically his career and all the shit outside of the cage, plus some of the stuff in the cage, all the fucking arrests, the drug, just the lying and all the bull. And you're like, man, this person is not a good human. No. But I fucking love them as an athlete. And so that I'm really torn on that.
It's a struggle, isn't it? It's like people who are Conor McGregor fans. It's like, yeah, there was a time when Conor was absolutely the most entertaining guy in the UFC, but he's a fucking dirtbag. So how can you reconcile? How can you separate the art from the artist? Because it's hard because sometimes, like if someone's a villain, kind of Brock Lesnar played into the villain thing, that's like you kind of want to see if the guy will lose.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I kind of want him to lose, but you're still paying money to support.
And it's not like they're committing crimes on the weekend. Like generally, right? Like the Chael Sonnens or the Anthony Mundine.
No.
They're just talking shit and being an art.
To get the emotional reaction.
But when like with him, say Jon Jones, he finished the fight, did an amazing job, and then he just came out with this shit about God. And it's like, fair enough. Like, you believe in God, like do that thing. But then he just kept going with it. And then all the stuff you're saying, I'm like, man, I don't believe anything that you're saying comes from the heart. Absolutely.
God's cocaine. I mean, if you've seen the footage of it's the traffic cop pulling him up and him being like, the fuck, he's so rude.
He's like, you're a fucking pig.
Yeah, he's such a... You're like, dude, you're in the wrong. Like, try and be cool about it. Like, why are you such a dick?
Yeah.
Now, people can say that was him now.
That was the same cop that pulled him over on that one that pulled him over the time before as well.
Really?
Which I learned in this thing. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And he's actually, he says to his partner, he's like, his partner's like, what's going on? He's like, we've got our friend here. And he's like, oh. And it's like, Jon Jones. It's like, okay.
Right.
Yeah, like.
Look, it's tough. Okay, great to see him moving well, because also I had a concern he'd come back and he'd be shit and it wouldn't be a good fight.
He looked fucking great.
He looked spectacular.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he finished the fight with a guillotine. Never would have called that.
I didn't think the guillotine was on. Then when you saw the replay, it was actually fucking...
But like he was because he was folded against the cage. He had nowhere to go. It was like breaking his neck, right?
Yeah.
He was sitting on top of him. It was a pretty brutal position. It was too easy.
Yeah, damn shame. But what are you going to do? Also, I suppose, got to acknowledge that motherfucker's got demons and you've got to have some kind of empathy for someone who's got demons, but I think he could do better.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, just want to give a shout out to Grasso for winning. Upset against Schevchenko with the choke.
Swift back take.
My God, it was a big mistake. Like, Schevchenko was winning.
Shevchenko was tired.
She was, but I think she was also annoyed because she's getting caught.
Yeah.
She got a little bit of a blood nose at the end of the first, and she was like, how dare this woman punch me in the face?
Yeah.
There's a certain arrogance to the way Shevchenko carries herself. And as soon as Ola found out she was Russian, she's like, I'm going for the Mexican. It's like, I hope she smokes this Russian bitch. But
in her defense, she's from Kyrgyzstan, right?
Wow.
I mean, she's a Russian by default.
She grew up in Russia, bro.
Is she?
Yeah, and she talks like a Russian. Anyway, whatever. I think Shevchenko is a
Russian
great champion.
Okay, yeah.
I expected her to win, and I was almost like, oh, this is going to finish with a tedious inevitability.
Yeah.
Fuck, here we go again. And she fucked up the back kick.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Got her back taken and the choke. And she didn't even defend the choke that well, to be honest.
Oh, no, she didn't. But it was all happened very quick. And that choke, man.
Yeah.
Like the chin was tucked, but you saw like the head got folded in. And when she released it, I only saw this on the replay, she just had that strip of white around both the chin and the neck where the blood had been cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fucking good squeeze.
And man,
I like that.
Stoked for her. That's a great, that'll change her life.
Absolutely.
That was fantastic. Oh, controversial statement.
Who what?
The gi is dead.
We said that shit years ago.
No. But when it comes out of the mouth of a controversial figure like Craig Jones, people pay attention.
Yes,
There's been a lot of reaction recently on the internet about Craig Jones making this claim. Why did he make this claim?
Did he say it on Lex podcast?
No, he actually said it on an Australian podcast.
Okay.
Held by two guys in South Australia. I think it's called The Good Company.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, they're legends. Shout out to them. But yeah, it was just in passing, but people were like, what? How dare you? But this was his rationale. If you look at the viewership and the subscriptions for the male black belt final for the IBJJF,
yeah,
it is like 1/5 of the viewership for like a Who's Number One.
Right.
Like people are just not paying attention to it. And it is meant to be the big spectacle. Who's Number One is just like super fights. It's not, I mean, obviously they're usually the best guys in the world, but you're like, how can the IBJJF put itself on such a pedestal if people are just not paying attention to it? And this is Craig's argument.
I mean, I got a vibe with that. I think dead in comparison to, I think that
well, he's saying it's dying. He believes it's kind of on the out.
But dying, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know what would be I think the stat for that would be like sign-ups to specifically Gi Jiu-Jitsu versus sign-ups to no Gi in a way, because I'm sure it's still growing.
Oh, it is.
Like
it's getting bigger. Like Masters is getting bigger and bigger.
So separating the practice and the people who want to train it from the spectators of the sport. Sure. I mean, if you look at no Gi, what they've done is they've actually marketed the sport.
Yes.
IBJJF has done nothing besides allow Flow Grappling
take your money.
Yeah, to put some stuff behind a paywall. And even with that, like you can watch some match highlights and stuff, but you can't, like they don't do the build-up events.
No.
Right? But with no-gi stuff, you've got and Flow were doing that too. They're doing these build-up events, behind the scenes, all access. And that shit sells, like that buys spectators.
Yeah, it's marketing.
I love that shit.
Yeah, we all love it. We love the, embeddeds, right? If you look at the UFC, it's so good because this is the narrative. You got to do it. And I mean, look, Tainan Dalpra versus Isaac Binies, which was like the GP, the IBJJF, their version of a super fight. I thought it was a sick match. Tainan won, of course. And I said this to Joe, and what did Joe say?
Who gives a fuck?
He's not paying attention to that.
I mean,
right?
Isaac, is it? Isaac and Tainan, both fucking awesome. And I like watching Isaac's style of jiu-jitsu. Like he has an aggressive push forward type of style. But at the end of the day, I was like, does anyone really care what happened in the gi? And I say that with full respect,
Sure.
I'm just like, the gi's just such a fucking hard one. You can't even see what's happening most of the time. We all loved like the Hodolfos, the Leandro Lows,
yes,
because like big flamboyant explosive movements.
Yep.
You can see action, but when we're talking about like tight lockdown, boom, shut down, boom, pass, and even if you're watching it like live at a competition, you're often like, I don't know what's happening now, but I think that person is doing better.
Yeah, it's not the same spectacle, and there has been some chat about changing the rules. Like, how could we make the gi great again kind of thing? And it would be remove points, and this is not me, guys. This is just, I've been doing a bit of research on it. Remove points, remove advantages, and then potentially, contentious issue, include heel hooks to make it a bit more dangerous, a bit more risky. I don't know about that part, but
what do you think about, say, what judo did to the art of jiu-jitsu or whatever, where it was like, it's just the takedown, basically. And we're just isolating this one part of the game in order to make a competition and a sport out of it.
Sure, I think it's okay, but
we all love jiu-jitsu. We all love judo highlights.
Yeah, but the truth is, sometimes you see the highlights, but sometimes judo matches are boring because no one gets a fucking throw.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets a bit kind of shitty because you're like, oh, this isn't.
What if we said for jiu-jitsu gi fights, flying submissions only?
A lot more injuries. That's what I'm going to say.
But it'd look fucking sick, right?
It would look so good.
Only flying shit. And the more flamboyant, the more points you get or something.
Man, they try to do that with Taekwondo. They're like, if you do a spinning reverse turning kick, like you jumping, spinning, we'll give you 5 points.
Yeah.
Then,
now we're talking.
You got a lot more people just falling.
I'll see you guys at the Taekwondo highlight section of YouTube.
A lot of people falling on their fucking face. Look, I think there's definitely ways that a body like the IBJJF could invest some money to make jiu-jitsu maybe more interesting. So, for example, let's look at, we mentioned, say, combat.
Training, don't get too deep on this.
No, but all I'm saying is this. There's definitely a way that we could make it hotter, but what is that way? That's the question I would ask.
Only time will tell.
You.